Hey guys, I'm JC and today we're back again for our last game with Ratadrabik of Urborg. This is a reanimated deck that looks to abuse Ratadrabik's ability by making multiple token copies of legendary creatures. If this ends up looking like your kind of deck, then make sure to stop by the channel where we have a deck tech discussing all of the included cards as well as the overall strategy. Let's see if our opponents underestimate just what this commander can do. Alright guys, let's see who's playing at the table today. We have Cadira, Caller of the Small. We have Mizzix of the Izmagnus, and we also have Jodah the Unifier. Okay, don't even have to look too hard at this opening hand. We can't keep it, so we'll definitely mulligan. This second hand doesn't look a whole lot better. We have Knight of the White Orchid with access to no white mana at all, only 2 lands, so we're going to have to go down to 6. Alright, this is starting to look a lot more better. Grave Pact is probably one of the best interactive pieces we have in the deck. Adeline, we probably won't be able to cast her still, but having access to Elasil Core is always good, and I don't want to go any lower than this, so we'll keep this. And I think we're actually going to put Adeline to the bottom, just in case we don't draw that white mana. Cadira starts by playing a land for turn, and then they pass the turn. Mizzix plays their land for turn, it comes into play tapped, and that is going to be it for them. Jodah starts by playing a Lotus Petal for turn, then they play their land. Next up they cast a Soul Ring. Now they crack their Lotus Petal and they cast a Brainstorm. Draw 3 cards, then put 2 cards from your hand on top of your library in any order. And that is going to be it for them. We draw a Swamp for turn. Let's just start by playing a Swamp and then just passing it over. Cadira plays a land, but it looks like that's it for them. Mizzix plays a land, and they're just going to leave it there holding up 2 mana. Glad we're not seated right after the control player. That's never a good position to be in. And of all of us, I'm really glad there's the Jodah player that's positioned there. Now they start by playing a land for turn, and now they cast a Nature's Law. That goes through, and that is it for them. We draw a land for turn, so we'll play our Bright Climb Pathway, and then we'll cast our Elasil Core. That resolves, and that is it for us. Cadira plays a land, and now they cast their commander, Cadira, Caller of the Small. Trample, and whenever Cadira deals combat damage to a player, for each token you control, create a 1/1 white rabbit creature token. And that is it for them. Mizzix plays a land, and now they cast Mellitus Charlatan. 3 tap, the controller of target instant or sorcery spell copies it. That player may choose new targets for the copy. And that is it for their turn. Jodah plays a land, and now they cast their commander, Jodah the Unifier. Legendary creatures you control get +X/+X, where X is the number of legendary creatures you control. Whenever you cast a legendary spell from your hand, exile cards from the top of your library until you exile a legendary non-land card with lesser mana value. You may cast that card without paying its mana cost, put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. And they end the turn there. So Jodah already being on the field is a little dangerous for us, and we're not at a point where we can use our Grave Pact yet, so hopefully one of the other 2 players might have an answer to that. So we'll just play our Shattered Sanctum for turn. We don't really have any good attacks at the moment, so I think we're just going to have to pass the turn there. Cadira starts by casting Shield of the Oversoul, targeting their commander. As long as enchanted creature is green, it gets +1/+1 and indestructible. As long as it is white, it gets +1/+1 and flying. Okay, well that's going to start pumping out a lot of tokens pretty quickly. Let's see where they swing in at. They have moved to combat, but it looks like they passed straight through combat. Maybe that was a little bit of a misclick there. And that is it for their turn. Now Mizzix just starts their turn by casting their commander. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell with mana value greater than the number of experience counters you have, you get an experience counter. And instants and sorcery spells you cast cost 1 less to cast for each experience counter you have. And they end the turn there. Jodah starts by playing a land for turn. And now they cast a Liliana Dreadhorde General that does trigger Jodah, allowing them to cascade. And now they hit a Kaya the Inexorable. So it looks like we may have a Super Friends version of Jodah here, which that is going to give them removal with Kaya. We also have Lily coming on board, and that's also going to be able to remove creatures pretty good. Not that we normally have a problem with sacrificing creatures, but we usually want to be better set up than what we are at the moment. So they do start by upticking Kaya, putting a Ghost Form counter on Jodah, so that is going to make it harder to remove. And now they uptick Liliana, making a 2/2 zombie token. Now they move to combat. Do they swing with Jodah or keep it back as a blocker? It looks like they just keep it back as a blocker, and they move straight to their end step, going to our turn. We draw another land for turn. Let's start. We'll play that land. We'll crack it straight away. We'll put our Godless Shrine into play. We'll have it come into play untapped, so we'll lose 2 life. And let's just get down our commander. That triggers Elasil Core, so we gain a life. And seeing as we still don't have any good attacks that I want to make, I'd rather keep Elixir Core here in case the Super Friends deck has a board wipe. I think we're just going to pass the turn. Cadira now starts by casting Felidar Retreat. Create a 2/2 white cat beast creature token or put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control. Those creatures gain vigilance until end of turn. Now they move to combat. Cadira swings in at Liliana. They won't be able to block here. So that knocks Lily down to 2. And that's it for the Cadira player. Mizzix plays a land. Now they cast a Chemist's Insight. That does trigger Mizzix. They get 1 experience counter. And Chemist's Insight, draw 2 cards, and it has Jumpstart. And that is it for them. Now Jodah starts by casting a Ajani Sleeper Agent. That does trigger Jodah. And it looks like they find themselves a Jensen Carthelian Druid Exile. So when they cast a multicolored spell, scry 1. If that spell was all colors, create a 4/4 White Angel. And they can pay 5 to get Wooburg, so more color fixing. So the table might be in a little bit of trouble here. The Planeswalkers are coming down probably faster than what we can handle them. Next up, they cast a Felwar Stone. Now they activate Kaya, exile in the Cadira. Cadira gets exiled. And now they uptick Liliana, making a 2/2 zombie. Next, they activate their Ajani, revealing the top card of their library. If it's a creature or planeswalker, they can put it into their hand. Otherwise, it goes to the bottom of their library. Now they move to combat, and Jodah is swinging in towards the Cadira player. They might be concerned that the Cadira player can go wide enough to actually get around their blockers and start chipping down at those planeswalkers. And that is it for their turn. We draw another land, which isn't good news. We need to get into something that's going to help handle the Super Friends deck. So we'll just start by playing our Silent Clearing. We'll sacrifice it to draw a card. And we get a Yosei. Okay, well that's looking much better. Now we just need a sack outlet and we're going to be on board. But with that, I think we will pass the turn from there. Cadira plays a land for turn. They have it come into play untapped, so they lose 2 life. That does trigger their Felidar Retreat. They decide to make a 2/2 white cat beast. And now they cast a Tendershoot Dryad. Ascend, at the beginning of each upkeep, make a 1/1 green sapling creature token. Saplings you control get +2/+2 as long as you have the City's Blessing. Alright, well that's going to start helping them go wide. And that's it for them. Tendershoot triggers on Mizzix upkeep. Mizzix plays a land for turn. And now they jumpstart their Chemist's Insight. That triggers their Mizzix. They gain another experience counter. That's going to allow them to draw another 2 cards. And now they also cast a Sky Diamond. But that is it for the Mizzix player. Tendershoot triggers on Jodah's upkeep. Now Jodah plays a land for turn. They crack it immediately. Now they activate Liliana, making another 2/2 zombie. Next, they use Kai to put a Ghost Form counter onto Jensen Carthelian. Then they activate Ajani, revealing the top card of their library, looking for a creature or planeswalker card. Let's see what they hit. Looks like they hit a Swamp. And now they cast a Chain Veil, which does trigger Jodah. That cascades them into an Oath of Nissa. When it ETBs, look at the top 3 cards of your library. You may reveal a creature, land, or planeswalker card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. You may spend mana as though a mana of any color to cast planeswalker spells. So now the Oath of Nissa does trigger. Looks like they reveal a mountain. And now the Chain Veil resolves. At the beginning of your end step, if you didn't activate a loyalty ability of a planeswalker this turn, you lose 2 life. And you can pay 4 tap. For each planeswalker you control, you may activate one of its loyalty abilities once this turn, as though none of the loyalty abilities have been activated this turn. So it is not looking good for us, not at all. Having 2 activations on the planeswalkers is going to be pretty dangerous. They were already looking pretty dangerous just with a single activation from each planeswalker. So now they do get the emblem from Ajani. Whenever you cast a creature or planeswalker spell, target opponent gets 2 poison counters. It looks like very quickly there's going to be a player leaving the game soon. And now they activate Kyra, and it looks like it's targeting the Tendershoot Dryad to exile it. Next, they activate Liliana, making another 2/2 zombie. And that is going to be it for their turn. We draw a Viscera Seer. Okay, well that is good news. We finally got the sack outlet we needed. Let's start by playing our Swamp for turn. Next, we'll play our Viscera Seer. That triggers Illusil Core, we'll gain a life. And then after that, we'll cast our Grave Pact. This normally puts a pretty big target on our heads, but I think at the moment with how well the Jodah player is, this shouldn't worry the players too much. Well, it looks like it was worrying enough from the Mizzix player, which is very surprising that they allowed the Chain Veil to go through, but not the Grave Pact. So that counters our Grave Pact. Once again, we'll just pass through combat, and that'll be us done. Now, Cadira starts by casting Call the Coppercoats, targeting us. Choose any number of target opponents, create X/1/1 white human soldier creature tokens, where X is the number of creatures those opponents control. And it looks like they did cast it for its Strive cost, so they've now made 9 1/1s. But that is going to be it for them. Mizzix plays a land for turn. And now they cast Ignite the Future. That does trigger Mizzix, so they get another experience counter. Exile the top 3 cards of your library. Until the end of your next turn, you may play those cards. If this spell was cast from a graveyard, you may play cards cast this way without paying their mana costs, and it does have flashback for 8. So like they exile an Island, Stormkiln Artist, and Into the Royal. So now they cast their Stormkiln Artist. It gets +1/+0 for each artifact you control, and it has Magecraft. Whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, make a treasure token. Next, they cast Into the Royal targeting Jodah, which is going to bounce it. That also triggers their Stormkiln Artist, making a treasure token. And it looks like they're leaving it there. Jodah starts by playing a land for turn. And now they recast Jodah. That will trigger their Ajani Emblem and Jensen Carthalion. They're going to be able to scry one, then make a 4/4 Angel. And it looks like we have the Mizzix player responding. They cast Dissipate targeting Jodah. Counter target spell. If that spell is countered this way, exile it instead of putting it into its owner's graveyard. That triggers their Stormkiln Artist. So they make a treasure token. That resolves. So now they scry and make the Angel. And it looks like they're pointing the Ajani poison counters towards the Mizzix player. Next, Jodah casts Jared Carthalion. +1, make a 3/3 Karvu creature token with trample. It's all colors. -3, choose up to 2 target creatures. For each of them, put a number of 1/1 counters on it equal to the number of colors it is. -6, return target multicolored card from your graveyard to your hand. If that card was all colors, draw a card and create 2 treasure tokens. That triggers Jensen and Ajani. Now we have another response from the Mizzix player. They Arcane Denial the Jared, which does trigger their Stormkiln Artist. So they're certainly throwing everything they can at the Jodah player now. Jensen will scry one and make an Angel again. And no doubt the Ajani Emblem's going to go towards the Mizzix player, putting them at 4 poison counters, which it does. Now Jodah upticks Liliana, making a 2/2 zombie. Then they uptick Kaya, putting a Ghost Form counter onto Jensen. And that is it for them. Arcane Denial triggers on our upkeep. So Jodah's going to draw 2 cards, Mizzix is going to draw 1. And we draw a land for turn. So we'll start by playing that land. We'll crack it. We'll put a swamp into play. And because I want to get as much value from Yosei as we possibly can, I think the move here is to actually try to resolve Mikaeus. That way we'll also be able to use Viscera Seer to scry and hopefully fix some of our next draws. So let's give that a go. That goes straight through. That triggers our Ellisil Core, gaining us a life. Once again, we're going to pass through combat and we're going to pass the turn over. It's still looking a little shaky for us, but if we can get back to our next turn and actually resolve Yosei, then I feel we're going to be in a much stronger position. Now, Cadira starts by casting a Chroma's Will. Creatures you control gain Flying, Vigilance, and Double Strike until end of turn. Okay, well, fingers crossed they all go towards the Jodah player. That's going to pretty much take care of all their Planeswalkers. So now they move to combat, and instead they actually decide to go straight to their face. Jodah does block with 2 Angels. That does take them down to 17, and that's it for the Cadira player. Mizzix starts by playing a land for turn. Then Mizzix starts by casting Fight with Fire. That does trigger their Stormkiln Artist, making a treasure token. And that's going straight at Jodah's face. Fight with Fire deals 5 damage to target creature. If this spell was kicked, it deals 10 damage divided as you choose among any number of targets instead. It looks like they have cast that with Kicker. That takes the Jodah player down to 7. And next they cast Rolling Thunder. X equals 7. It deals X damage divided as you choose among any number of targets. Okay, so that might actually be the Jodah player done here. That does trigger Stormkiln Artist and Mizzix. So they'll gain another experience counter going up to 4. They'll make a treasure token. And let's see if that goes through. It looks like it does, so the Jodah player is out. Well, this is really good news for us. So now Mizzix moves to the end step. What we're going to do is we're going to use Viscera Seer and sacrifice Ellisil Core so we can scry one. That's going to trigger Ratadrabik, so it'll make a token copy. Ellisil Core has Undying thanks to Mikaeus, so the original will return. Now because another creature ETB, we'll gain a life. And now we'll scry one. And we have a Skull Clamp there. Okay, that's actually really good. So we'll keep that on top. And we'll move to our turn. What we'll do is we'll start by playing our Takenuma for turn. Then we'll try to resolve our Skull Clamp. That does go through. And next we're going to give it a go. We're going to try to see if Yosei can resolve. And that actually does go through. That is really good news for us. That triggers both our Ellisil Cores, so we'll gain 2 life. Now we could sack Yosei here, tap down the Cadira player. It would have Undying return, make a token copy, then sacrifice the other one. That would keep Mizzix tapped down, and then we'd get one more there. So that would lock our opponents out for 1 turn. but I'd really love to do it with Skull Clamp attached to him. I think it's only the Mizzix player that we have to worry about, so it's a little risky, but I think I'm actually going to let the Cadira player untap here. Let's hope it pays off for us. So we will move to combat. We'll send in Mizzix towards the Mizzix player because it can't be blocked and it does have vigilance anyway. Now in response, Mizzix casts Lightning Strike. It deals 3 damage to any target that triggers their Stormkiln Artist. We'll let that go through. That won't actually take out Mizzix at the moment. They might have thought that they were able to block here, but they probably forget that Mizzix actually has Intimidate. So the damage goes through, and that'll be our turn done. If worse comes to worse, the Cadira player gets something on board that threatens lethal or very large amounts of combat damage, we can still sack the Yosei in response and tap down whatever creatures are coming through. Cadira starts by casting Prava of the Steel Legion. As long as it's your turn, creature tokens you control get +1/+4, and you can pay 4 mana, create a 1/1 white soldier creature token. It is going to buff their tokens up a lot, but I'm not too worried at the moment. Next, they cast a Rampant Growth. Okay, well with that land ETB trigger and their Felidar Retreat, if they put the 1/1 counters on their creature, we may need to tap it down here. We might do a little bit of math. Yeah, they do decide to put the 1/1 counters on them. So currently 4 power, and then the rest look like they're 3s. So they want to move to combat. Let's just do the math here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31. Do we just take the 31 damage to get the chance to draw more cards? Yeah, we'll do it. We'll take the damage. We're a black deck. That's what we're all about. And we actually have the Mizzix player scoop there. Okay, well that's probably helped us out a lot there. They weren't completely out of the game, but they must have felt like they were. So we'll take the damage, and it looks like that's it for their turn. So we draw a land for turn, Shizo Death Storehouse. Right, well let's start by equipping our Skull Clamp to Yosei. Next, we're going to sacrifice Yosei. We'll obviously choose the Cadira player as the player to tap down, and we'll start tapping down their biggest creatures. So we'll draw 2 cards first from our Skull Clamp. Relic of Legends and Hellish Norn Grand Cenobite. Okay, that's the perfect draw right there. Ratadrabik's going to make a token copy of Yosei. We'll gain 2 life from our Ellysil Cause. Our opponent's going to lose 2 life from the Ellysil Cause. We're going to tap down the Cadira player and tap down 5 of their creatures. Yosei will have Undying. That triggers both our Ellysil Cause again, gaining us 2 life. We'll also scry 1. An Ancient Tomb. I think we'll actually keep that because we have Skull Clamp at the moment to draw us more cards, so the more colorless mana we have, the better. Next, I'm going to cast our Relic of Legends. And now, thanks to our Relic of Legends, we can actually cast Hellish Norn here. So let's do that. That wipes the board of pretty much all of Kadira's creatures. That triggers our Ellysil Cause. We gain 2 life. Now I think we can move to combat. We'll send in everything we can. And then we'll just pass the turn over from here. The Cadira player doesn't get to untap, so they pretty much pass it right over to us. And I think the writing's going to be pretty much on the wall here. So we won't mess around. We'll just play our land for turn. And we'll move to combat. We'll send everything in. And that is the game done there, guys. Alright, let's go to the review and discuss what happened. Well, that game was pretty tight. The fast Soul Ring start from the Jodah player allowed them to explode ahead very quickly and develop a strong board state. It took the combined resources of the table to keep them in check, but eventually we did get there and they were taken out before they could kill the table with poison counters or Planeswalker ultimates. The whole time this was happening, we were slowly but surely developing our board state and getting key pieces into place so that when the time came, we were ready to make our move. Now, once the Mizzix player took out the Jodah player and they were pretty much tapped out, our time came to strike. Once we cast and resolved Yosei, the game was all but over. In this deck, Yosei pretty much acts as an extra turn spell, and sometimes one extra turn is all you need to get the job done. Well, that's it from me today. This will be our last game of Ratadrabik for quite a while, so I hope you got your fill, but don't worry, we will be bringing it back in the future, especially if the new Hellish Norn that we are due to get soon ends up being a bomb for the deck. But until then, take care, guys.